Designing retirement communities. There are three main phases of design. The schematic phase, during which people get clear about the kind of program that they're trying to develop and the kind of target market that they want to attract. The second phase, design development, is really about refining your ideas and choosing finishes and doing all the fine design work to make things look especially nice. The third phase is construction drawings or blueprints, and that really is the phase where specific instructions are created for people so that the construction workers and project management team can create the design that's desired. Block diagrams are often used in the first schematic phase to rough out what can fit in a particular space. You might think about drawing a rectangle and filling in that rectangle with boxes and labeling each of those boxes as either apartments or a swimming pool or a workout room or anything that you might like in a particular design for senior housing. Site design, it involves factors such as weather, for example. What's the impact of weather going to be on your particular design? If you're building a tall tower like the Portland Mirabella, will it be negatively impacted by wind? What happens with the sun? Where does the sun hit, and who gets the sun versus who doesn't? How does the rotation of the building or the placement of the building impact the view? Can you optimize the number of people that get a good view? These are all factors of site design, and you can take a look at some of the other factors. Program development is certainly an important part of the schematic design process, where you're trying to determine how are you going to move people and supplies throughout your building and space, and how does that match the kind of environment that you want to create and the kind of services that are going to be provided. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see that the key areas of focus for most senior housing environments are questions related to dining, healthcare, staff spaces, meaning where are staff going to be and hang out within a senior housing community, parking, focused mostly on accessibility, and systems throughout the building. This is a drawing, a construction drawing actually, without the blueprints. This might even be thought of as a advanced schematic design of the Seattle Mirabella. This is the first floor, and the focus is on creating a sense of community and accessibility. And so you'll see around the perimeter retail shops that are open both to the public and to the people that live in the high rise. You'll see an auditorium that pulls for people to come to presentations. You'll see a library on the first floor, meeting rooms, and the swimming pool, as well as other services. This is a schematic drawing of the Portland Mirabella first floor. You'll see many of the similar kinds of features. In Portland, they built a cafe on the first floor that's open to the public as well as to residents of the community. You see a classroom, auditorium style classroom, where people can have events that the public are invited to. There's some retail space and a health clinic as well as a swimming pool. One of the big questions in all senior housing communities is what kind of dining facility do you want? And the type of dining that you're going to have will have a large impact on how you design it. Seattle dining facilities are located, I believe, on the 17th or 18th floor. They're on the right side of this drawing here. And you can see that they really capitalize on the view of Lake Union by putting seating around the perimeter. And there's also a lounge that is on the inside of the community there, and they have a view over the courtyard. So lots of questions to ask related to dining and how you want to design it. You can take a look at some of these questions on the slide. One of the ones that always jumps out at me is, what do we do with walkers and wheelchairs so that they don't become a safety hazard to people in a dining setting? And so part of the design typically involves creating spaces where those can be stored by the wait staff and then brought back out at the completion of a meal. This is a schematic of the Portland dining facility, and as you can see with the tables around the perimeter, they're really capitalizing on a view. Here's a rendering of dining interior, and it kind of gives you an idea of the modern feel that is trying to be created. This is the main floor cafe in the Portland community. This is the actual club lounge, and it ended up looking very much just like this up in Seattle. I've actually sat in this lounge and had a glass of wine, and it's very cool. So for a senior housing community to have this, it's really a neat thing. The formal dining in Seattle. This is from Seattle, and in fact, it looks very much like that. One of the things that they did is they've lowered the base of all the windows so that everybody can see the windows regardless of height. And very very nice place to have a meal. So one of the concepts related to site design, not site design, but schematic design or program design, is thinking about relationships within the community. And when we talk about relationships related to design, we're talking about things such as, where's the kitchen relative to the healthcare section of the community? Because we know we're going to have to get food from the kitchen to the healthcare section and help people with the process of eating in many cases. How close are the elevators to the kitchen and the loading dock, so it makes it easy to move resources up and down? You can look at some of these other relationships. They make sense, and when communities are designed poorly, they fail to consider these kinds of relationships. Spaces for staff really ask the question, where are staff going to be? Where do they park? How do they get in and out of the building? Is there time clock in close proximity to where they enter the building? Is there a place for them to relax and have a meal during their shift that makes sense so that they can be ready to respond to a call if there is a call? Basically, this gets at making sure staff have the resources to be efficient, productive, and really to feel satisfied about where they work. Healthcare design is another big issue. um, Asking questions: how many beds do we want to have within our community? If it's a CCRC, it's an important question. How many beds do we think we'll need to provide healthcare services to people as they age? And do we want these rooms to be private or semi-private? Uh, I think older thinking is that most healthcare facilities or facilities that offer healthcare do so with semi-private rooms. More newer thinking is to provide private rooms if possible. There's a whole host of support services that relate to healthcare. Everything from places for families to gather comfortably to facilities that allow staff to help provide baths, accessible therapies, beauty shop, etc. Recreation spaces are another big design question. What kind of recreation do you want, and where should those facilities or services be located so that they're most easily accessible for the residents? Facility services, again, what kind of areas do we want to reserve for staff, for the laundry, for housekeeping? These are often called low value spaces. So if we can put these kinds of services in spaces that we wouldn't have in an apartment or really wouldn't work to be a communal area for residents, then they become ideal for these kinds of things. Parking's a big issue for all senior housing communities. Just trying to find ways to make sure there is enough parking. Do we want people to park their own cars? Do we want to provide a valet service? In Seattle, because of some tricky parking situations, they do provide valet. And we want to look at, well, when people park, how difficult is it to get into the community?